working with the town, when we were offered land next to the Hood School, which the school department deferred to us, and we were able to, instead of just paying asking price, we were able to negotiate with them and negotiate a 30% decrease in the price that we paid. I think working, with the townspeople is a joy, believe it or not. When you get to see the different ideas, people bring you into a light that I'm not in. I'm not a parent, and I get to meet people who can explain a lot of things to me, their wishes, their desires. So I think it's just being involved in town and in town government. There's a satisfaction there, and although it's not always roses, I find it very enjoyable.
Okay, Jim.
Yeah, I was gonna take on to another topic, if you don't mind.
Sure.
In your opening statement, you talked about the center of town and balancing the needs of the town with the needs of the new century. One of the issues in the center of town is traffic. Crossing 62 between 5 and 6 o'clock in the evening can some nights be death-defying. And talk about, if you will, there's been talk about traffic lights. There's been talk about some type of traffic mitigation. During your term, they actually tried to close off Havel Street. How do we address the traffic? Because 62 is now becoming a cut-through as an alternative route to 128 for people who aren't even residents of the town going east and west. How do we address this as 62 becoming an artery for commuters and maintain the center of town and the historical preservation?
Well, unfortunately, 62 is a state route, so they pretty much have a lot of say what goes on there. We did negotiate with the state regarding traffic signals at Haverhill Street. They will be in concert with the historical theme of the center of town. I personally use the Haverhill Route 62 intersection quite a bit, and I like it when during the school shut-off from 8 o'clock until I believe it's 2:30. I would just as soon see that shut off all the time, because it's much easier to get down Bow Street to 62 and take a right or left than it is to cross at Haverhill Street. Although a lot of people don't agree with that, and I find most of those people don't use that intersection. I think that, it is, as far as taking a left coming north on Haverhill Street, I think taking a left is dangerous also, and that could, we could just have no left turn there. But we have a traffic officer in Scott Tilton. I believe he's looking into that. 62, at this point in time, we don't know if the widening is going to happen because of state funding. So, until we get the state funding and until we get the traffic lights there, I still think shutting off that section is the best idea. It leaves access to the town common for the kids to go across there if they want. They do have a crossing guard who does a great job, and I know how dangerous that intersection is. I stood there with one of the members of the school committee one time, and she was kind enough to bring me coffee while I was standing there with my signs, and I found it a very, very dangerous spot to be in.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's get down to one of the big issues for the election. The upcoming time period is the issue of the budget. Money's going to be short. It's been short for a while. It's getting shorter. State funds are going to be reduced. So if there's not enough money to pay for everything, which generally every year there isn't, some things will have to be cut or reduced. What are your ideas to deal with this budget crisis?
Well, certainly, times are tough. We have very little money in reserve right now. We have expenses, we have contractual agreements that we have to meet. There's usually 3% increases in all of the payrolls each year. I think we need to start working on those. Those are unrealistic yearly increases. Industry does not get those. You know, certainly the taxpayers will be expected to, you know, we have to be the ones to pay that burden of 3% every year. I'd like to see the employees start working toward negotiating lower rather than layoffs. You know, I don't want to see any layoffs. I'd like to see us maintain the number of personnel. Everybody's just going to have to work hard. You know, it's like at home when your checkbook is empty, you have to figure out which priorities you have, and you have to work on those. And I think, you know, the problems that we've had so far have been solved through the checkbook. We now need to sit down and prioritize, and we have to start looking for grants. We have to start working, you know, maybe less overtime. There are a lot of things that we can look at when we scrutinize the budget, which, quite frankly, we haven't had to do lately because we've had the money. And now, if an override is needed, I think it should be for essential capital items. I don't think we should do it for the operational budget.
Okay, so speak to the override, just what you said about the override just now. You said if an override is necessary, you would.
What would be the operational expense that would be, might put us in the override where we have to have cuts, or what type of capital equipment that capital expenses would be in that? Let's clarify that.
Well, I haven't seen the capital list. I don't even know if they have it, but, you know, so in order to make priority, you have to look at the list. I haven't seen the budget. I was in 2 weeks ago, talked to the town administrator, and he told me that the budget was fine. So if he's not gonna give it to me, I can't recommend it anywhere now until I see it.
Okay. But you don't have any ideas? I mean, I guess what we're asking the candidates is, all right, let's assume you don't know anything, but you have ideas about what's going on in the town, where you think you might be able to bring some special knowledge of, here's a way to save some money, some ideas you have.
Well, again, you have to become more efficient. You have to look up, for example, we have a lot of consultants that we work with. We have the consultant here in the DP department, I believe he's here 40 hours a week. You know, we need to look at those things. You know, we need to see if he's necessary 40 hours a week, or if there's an alternative, things like that.
I wanted to talk about the police station. You had, in your candidate profile said that you believe that we could do it for $4.8 million. And I'm interested in hearing how you feel we'd be able to achieve that and still be able to build enough space that would be adequate for any future growth of the town.
Well, as a matter of fact, if you look at the plan, you're on the $4.8 million. Those plans, there were a lot of duplicates. For example, in the lower levels, you had bonding officers, and in the upper levels, you have interrogation officers. My experience is you're not doing both at the same time. Unfortunately, we don't have large criminal elements that would be using bonding and would be using interrogation. We have a community room. Right next to that, we have a roll call room. A roll call room was used 3 times a day, if you will, prior to the shift. All right? Shifts begin at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4 in the afternoon, 11 or 12 at night. I don't see that would conflict with the community using the same room. As far as the community room in the police station, it's a nice idea, but because of the situation, there's no parking. People would have to park up at the library and walk in. The library has a community room that's not overtaxed at this point in time. It could be used. As a matter of fact, I attended the Citizens Police Academy at the library, in the community room, and worked outside. There are several concerts, things like that. There are offices, for example, behind communications. There's a snack room. 30 feet down the hall, there's a lunch room. You know, I think there's a lot of duplication, and the build out, the architects, quite frankly, through investigations, again, my the plan that brought us to the 6.2 million, I believe it was brought down to 2 million, was also not brought to professional estimate. So we're looking at something that I believe can be built on a smaller footprint and can still give us all the necessary offices that we need. If you look at the plans that were given to us by Mr. Lee, who in fact was asked several times, up until the point, I think, the meeting prior to town meeting, he said it could still be done for $4.8 million. Okay? The meeting just before told him it could be brought up to $6.8 million. And an architect gets 10% of whatever the plan is. So I think that I still believe and I still would support the police station at the $4.8 million. I believe we need to do something there. Right now, in the plans, the second set of plans, there are more offices than there are office doors. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm curious about, sort of like drawing a line in the sand, the 4.8 million, because that's the money that's approved, but even taking into account the changes that you're recommending, do you have any concrete evidence that those costs would actually bear out, so they could be done for 4.8 million? I mean, you're talking about eliminating, some spaces in there, but even with that, there's a lot of infrastructure. I think you're underestimating relocation costs of that project anyway. I'm so curious as to whether or not this is going to, if you draw a number at 4.8 million, whether this is actually an accurate number to the space that we need, the operation that we need.
Well, apparently 4.8 million is what the town got to cause question about in the town vote. That's what they voted on. If in fact the solid plan comes in at 5.2 million, because we will have some inflation, although construction costs could go down because of the big change. Okay, I would be in favor of building that at the town center.
So you would.
Yeah, you have to get some leeway. I'm not going to, 4.8 million was voted on by the town. If the town feels that we can afford more, and there's a sound plan, yeah. But I've been in business in the construction industry. I work with people selling accounting systems and working with architects. You don't come in at the last minute and present a 2-point-something million dollar increase when you've been telling everyone all along that, yeah, your budget will lose. I just find something suspicious about that. I think they call it in the power industry business.
Sorry, you mentioned the big case here. Anybody else have a question? Mike?
You mentioned diversity of opinion, and that's certainly important. But it seems in our town in the last few years, diversity of opinion has kind of degraded to divisiveness in the town, and very difficult time coming to solutions. The elementary school is the obvious example. Is there any way that you feel you can reduce the divisiveness in town, and the divisiveness in town in general, and specifically come break the gridlock on the elementary school?
I'm glad you asked